Hello and welcome to the third and final performance of our three-part Summer Arts Festival, featuring performances about the completed life. My name is Sarah Kiskaden Bechtel, and I am the Program Director for the Completed Life Initiative. I will be your host for today's event. Each performance featured in our Summer Arts Festival features either a play or a musical about what it means to live well and die on your own terms. We embrace the belief that life is a cycle beginning with birth and ending with death. Yet, American culture is generally uncomfortable addressing death. How do we explain this profound cultural paradox? Like many of life's great unanswered questions, meaning is found through open discussion and profoundly expressed through the performing arts. Today's feature uh, Today's performance features excerpts from a new musical called Life Review, the Hospice Musical, which celebrates life, love, and loss through 3 seasons at a residential hospice. The story follows our young Rabbi David, the new chaplain at the facility. He arrives in autumn, eager and naive, caring but lonely. As he ministers to the patients, Rabbi David learns from his patients, even as he cares for them and their loved ones. In Life Review, each patient sings their story. We hear from a proud mother remembering snow, a brave but scared young man wondering what's to come, an older man looking for one last friend. Today, I'm delighted to welcome the creator of Life Review, the hospice musical, to the Completed Life stage. Cantor Benjamin Kintish is a chaplain, a music teacher, and of course, a cantor, in addition to his involvement with theater and songwriting. Life Review is the first musical that he has created. Cantor Ben has loved singing and performing on stage since his youth. He graduated from Brown University with a concentration in Judaic studies, has received graduate studies at the Jewish Theological Seminary, including a master's in sacred music, along with a cantorial degree. Cantor Ben recently completed his 4th year of chaplaincy training, having served in both hospice and elder care facilities. And most recently, he became a middle school chorus teacher in Dundalk, Maryland, where he lives in Columbia, Maryland with his wife, daughter, and dog. Before we begin, please be aware that you may input your questions into the chat feature located on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Please feel free to submit your questions throughout the event, and later on we will turn to your questions for an interactive Q&A with Cantor Ben. Also, if you'd like assistance with closed captioning, you may toggle on the box located in the lower left-hand corner of your screen that provides captioning for the spoken words of our event today. And last but not least, today's program will be recorded. All right, without further ado, Cantor Ben, please take us away.
All right, thank you for the beautiful introduction. Sarah, thumbs up if you can hear me all right. Wonderful. Oh, and the people in the audience gave me thumbs up too. Great. Well, I'm so glad to see all of you wherever you are. Thank you for including me today. So good afternoon, everybody. Before we begin today's show, just some housekeeping announcements. Let me ask you to turn off your ringers. Note the fire exits in your own homes. If there is an emergency, you can use them, but use judgment. You know, if it's a good song, you might want to wait till the song ends and then exit where you are. It's up to you, though. Now, a little bit about the story of Life Review, the hospice musical. This is a project which I began nearly 8 years ago, inspired by my own real-life experiences as a hospice chaplain, working in a residential hospice, as you heard Sarah mention. I met real-life people, patients and staff alike, and they inspired characters who are composites of real people from my work as a chaplain. The musical began as a concept. Sketches in a notebook inspired by stories heard bedside became songs. I later worked over 2 years with 3 wonderful composers to help me pair my words with their beautiful melodies. Jason Spiewak of Westfield, New Jersey, Michael Miller of Rochester, New York, Andy Basov of Chicagoland, and more recently, additional music from Miriam Cook of Howard County, Maryland. We are in early development. We've had 2 live workshop performances in Portland 2019 and in Columbia, Maryland 2020. Now, due to the pandemic, we are bringing this new work of theater, to the public through our virtual tour 2021. Please stay to the end when everyone who is with us can have a chance to ask questions to me, the creator and lyricist of the project. Now, today's performance is crafted around 8 songs that are highlights of a full-length musical that has 14 songs. My hope is that someday soon, when live theater is safe again, I can bring this show to you guys in New York or anywhere else in the country. We are doing an outdoors performance on September 12th that you guys will hear about, and you can tune in for a delayed live stream. I'll share that information with Sarah to email to all of you later. But until then, though, I am so glad to be with you today virtually and share this new work of theater with you today. And without further ado, let's begin. We don't mean to be a bummer, but we've got some awful news. It gets colder after summer, and even winners lose. Robert Frost composed on one fine day in a most poetic way. He wrote, "Nothing gold can stay." That's what he said, and now he's dead because, spoiler alert, everybody dies in the end. Sorry to ruin the play, my friend. Love him or hate him, this cannot bend. Everybody dies in the end. Whoops. Oh no. We all go when we gotta go, you hear. Every single person you know, my dear. The neighborly Ned who you just despise. Your trustworthy friend, the guy who lies. Holy sister never sinned in her life. Your father, your mother, your husband or wife. The hero and the villain of each tall tale. Sailor who battled a full force gale. Spoiler alert, ba-dum bum bum. Everybody dies in the end. Sorry to ruin the play, my friend. Love him or hate him, this cannot bend, because everybody dies in the end. It's the truth, Ruth. It's sad, Vlad. It ain't pretty, Kitty, but it's real, Camille. It's coming for all of us. No matter how you feel, no matter your name or country or game, it's the same. It's the same. The man who's gentle and noble and smart. The woman who woke the world with her art. The boy who lived with the baboon heart. They all leave the stage when they're done with the part. Our curtain is up, we will do our thing. We hope you don't cry every time we sing. Whether you're married or you got no ring. The loneliest pauper, the loftiest king. We all gotta die. We all gotta die. Just sing, just sing, just sing, just sing. Everybody dies in the end. Sorry to ruin the play, my friend. Love 'em or hate 'em, this cannot bend. Everybody, 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 everybody dies in the end. Everybody dies in the end. All right. Ooh, there's claps. Thanks, guys. Picture, if you will, a warm and breezy September afternoon. A youngish man with a yarmulke atop his head is seen crouching down in the dirt, trowel in hand. He's planting daffodil bulbs in memory of his mother, who had died at the hospice a year earlier. He is also, we soon discover, the new chaplain. The nurse Marie St. Clair approaches, mistaking the new rabbi for the new gardener. Removing his muddy gloves, Rabbi David introduces himself to Marie and awkwardly shakes her hand. After some pleasantries, he admits to his new colleague that he feels daunted about his new job. There's just so much dying, he says. It's a hospice, you know. That's what people are coming here to do, Marie quips. Nurse Marie welcomes Rabbi David by sharing a little bit about the philosophy of hospice care. She says to him, yes, it's a hospice, so lots of dying. Ain't no avoiding that, but dying's not so bad. Lots of people die here. They turn out fine. You know, Rabbi, I just hope when I die, I get treated this nice. What we do here is we put them at ease during their dying days. You ever heard of Cicely Saunders? She's the lady who wrote the book on hospice because she started the whole concept. Like here, she explains. I will do all I can and share the moments you lived. Laugh with you and cry until the moment you die, and die in peace. Even when you're dying, you are holy. Even when you're broken, you are whole. I will walk with you as you're on your way. I will talk with you so you have your say. Sitting by your side until the final day. I am here for you, so live until you die. Oh, live until you die. We'll take away your pain, do as much as we can. Honor the dignity of each woman and man, to die in peace. Even when you're dying, you are holy. Even when you're broken, you are whole. We will walk with you as you're on your way. We will talk with you so you have your say. Staying by your side until the final day. We are here for you, so live until you die. Oh, live until you die. Oh. Scene 3. Rabbi David starts his job as the new chaplain. He is eager and caring, but sometimes nervous and often awkward. Simply put, he stumbles again and again. He wants to say the smartest thing, and he often says the most foolish thing. One particularly painful experience happens while visiting a mother and her 25-year-old son. The young man is dying of cancer. Rabbi David puts his foot in his mouth, cheerfully invoking the story of Job. His ill-advised words infuriate the mother. She casts him out. Rabbi David laments, what if I'm not up to this? What if I don't know what to say? If there was ever a time for divine intervention, it would be now. God, can you hear me? Even when I've nothing to say, when nothing is going my way, God, are you near me? Will you be with me whenever I'm stuck in despair and all of the world is unfair? Please, God, see me. God, what if I can't say a word, or it comes out wrong? God, tell me if asking's absurd. Do you like my song? Send me a sign from where you are. Are you near or far or in between? I've seen so many seekers, I am one too. It's time for you to send me a sign. I'm wondering about some big things. Can you tell me why? You made both my parents die and left me in pieces. I wanna find out. Tell me how not to feel so alone whenever rain soaks me to the bone. Answer with rainbows. Is there a lesson to learn from the pain all around? From the sound of tears in the dark? Send me a sign from where you are. Are you near or far or in between? I have seen so many seekers, I am one too. I turn my heart to you. So please, God, send me a sign. Oh, send me a sign. Oh, send me a sign. Scene 4. Our story continues, and over time, our hero, Rabbi David, begins to learn. He opens his ears and his heart a little more with each visit. He discovers how to better minister to his dying patients and those who love them. Instead of preaching and teaching, he learns from Nurse Marie that he needs to ask the kinds of questions that help the people share the stories of their lives. As you listen to the song, consider how you might answer some of these questions if given the chance to share a highlight reel of your life. Hi, I'm the chaplain. I'd like to visit with you. May I join you? Tell me, who are you? What did you do? And where did you go? And who did you know? Who did you love? Who did you lose? When you had a choice, how did you choose? Tell me your story, give a glimmer of your glory, how you got to here and now. I am here to hear you now. We are here to hear you now. Life review, sing of joys and heartbreaks. We can hear your voice even as it fades. Life review, through the triumphs and the sorrows, with more yesterdays than tomorrows. Time to do a life review. Tell me about your mom and dad. What was the best job you had? How about when your health got bad? And when did you feel fine? Where did you live? And where did you move to? What were the records you used to groove to? Is there time enough to ask all that I must? You can tell me your secrets if I earn your trust. What are you proud of? Are you carrying shame? Did you ever get married? What was their name? Too soon I have to go. Too soon you have to go. But now life review, sing of joys and heartbreaks. We can hear your voice even as it fades. Life review, through the triumphs and the sorrows, with more yesterdays than tomorrows. Time to do a life review, sing of joys and heartbreaks. We can hear your voice even as it fades. Life review, through all the triumphs and the sorrows, with more yesterdays than tomorrows. Time to do a little life review. Scene 5. Leroy Washington is a relatively chipper guy, considering he is 102. A friendly and lively African-American man, he quickly befriends our young rabbi early in the play. Mr. Washington is a man who had played organ in the black church, accompanying sermons and gospel choirs for over 40 years in Brooklyn. As a nod to that culture, listen to how this song has musical echoes of the African-American gospel church music tradition. Now, like every older person, Leroy deals with pain and loss related to his body and its decline. When he was younger, he could play 5 services on Christmas. Now, 85 years after his teenage church organ debut, one of his hands doesn't even work. He can't play his music anymore. Leroy is stuck in his bed, wishing he were younger and able to play music like he used to. But in singing this song, he expresses a deep faith and a deep gratitude for a life well lived and the body that carried him through it. With these hands, I played for the Lord. When the preacher spoke, I prayed with the chord. The choir filled the room each Sunday with song, and every holy key-struck hammer was blessed to play along. With this voice, I sing the Lord's praise, alone or in harmony. Oh, I sanctify our days. Through melody we spoke the language of love. Gratitude for life and for the audience above. With these feet I race to stand up. Oh, when they needed us, I raise my hand up. With this voice, oh, I sang the Lord's praise, alone or in harmony, harmony, making holy our days. Through melody we spoke in the language of love. Gratitude for life and for the audience above. With these hands, I played for the Lord over and over again. After the preacher prayed, we all said amen. Amen. Scene 6. Stella Santini is 55, in the hospice for terminal cancer. She lies in her bed, drifting in and out of a delirium as her adult son sits next to her, holding her hand. They reminisce of winters, years ago when the family used to go skiing in New England. Stella sits up in bed and sings about those snowy winters, which she loved. She wonders what will happen to her family and the whole world after she dies. I remember when the winter came. Green mountains painted white. When the storms rolled through, I always knew that it would be all right. Some folks hate New England winter, but I always love the snow. The dazzling light dress the town in white. It's where I want to go, but I have to know, will it still snow when I'm gone? And how do I know that they go on? Will the lovers keep flirting? Will my family keep hurting because I'm gone? When I'm gone. Will daffodils fill each April bouquet? Will the tulips still bloom to open May? Will the trees remember in September to turn from green to gold? Will the rest of my friends grow old? And will it still snow when I'm gone? And what if no one can move on? Will a young love still shimmer? Will the glowing sunset glimmer? Will a rainbow still come after the rain? And what if I never see the snow again? I know my whole world is ending. So is the whole world ending? I have to stop pretending that I get a happy ending. But I hope and I pray that somehow, some way, winter will come again. Winter will come again. Winter will come again. It's late in the play. It's late in the day. And before Rabbi David heads to his car to drive home, he pops into his friend Leroy's room for a quick visit. They talk together quietly, and after a few playful pleasantries, Leroy says, "Rabbi, I'm feeling tired." Rabbi David offers to play him a lullaby to help him fall asleep. Leroy nods weakly and smiles in the most subtle way. Rabbi David sits near his bed, takes out his guitar, and plays the following song. Lay on back, rest your head, lay thee down, safe in bed. Close your eyes, darling dear, you drift away, I'll stay right here. Time to sing a lullaby. Sing a soft, sincere goodbye. Tuck you in for a dream so sweet. Heaven awaits. Your life's complete. Hold your hand, wipe your tear, kiss your face, soothe your fear. You are holy, your life's been blessed. Now my love, it's time to rest. Time to sing a lullaby. Sing a soft, sincere goodbye. Tuck you in for a dream so sweet. Heaven awaits. Your life's complete. So rest in peace. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. We close this afternoon's cabaret presentation with the closing song of the full-length musical, the aptly named In the End, I Thank You. The daffodils we saw Rabbi David plant at the beginning of the play in September are now blooming because it's April. Even though we have met friends and lost friends along the way, the flowers give us a visual reminder that life goes on, and after the winter, the spring will come again with new life and new hope. This song was written as a sincere expression of gratitude, and I just want to stop and say I'm so grateful for all of you for joining me today. I'm grateful to the Completed Life Initiative for welcoming me to this lovely opportunity to share with you today. So thank you, all of you. I also want to publicly offer gratitude for all of the caregivers out there, nurses, doctors, GNAs, CNAs, chaplains, social workers, maintenance, cleaning, and security workers, really everyone who helps do the holy work of caring for people who are elderly, frail, or seriously ill. Their work is difficult and at times thankless, even in the best of times. Sadly, during the current COVID-19 pandemic, their work has become ever more challenging in so many ways. After I'm done with this final song, we will have a 15-minute Q&A. While I sing, you can write your questions in the chat, and Sarah will help moderate. Please do check out our website, lifereviewmusical.com. And if you enjoyed tonight's or this afternoon's show, please share with a friend if you want to help grow the project. Our Instagram handle is @lifereviewmusical. If you want to sign up for a once-a-month e-newsletter, you can put your email in the chat. Our final song, In the End, I Thank You. In the end, I thank you for loving me every day. In the end, I thank you, so close yet far away. In the end, I thank you for hearing hopes and sorrows. In the end, I thank you for just being here. Pray for me, hold my hand. Stand with me while I can stand. Rest is coming soon. I thank you for letting me be in your room. Light of your hopes brightened the gloom. In the end, I thank you for seeing through the nonsense. In the end, I thank you for being your holy self. In the end, I thank you, my newest best friend. In the end, I thank you for grace at the end. Pray for me, hold my hand. Stand with me while I can stand. Rest is coming soon. I thank you for letting me be in your room. Light of your hope, bright in the gloom. So grateful to have met you, wonderful you. Wonderful you. In the end, I thank you for your love. In the end, I thank you over and over again. In the end, I thank you oh so much. In the end, I thank you for your sweet and gentle touch. I thank you, whoa, whoa, I thank you, whoa, whoa. I thank you, I thank you, I thank you. L'chaim.
Hopefully you could hear the clapping in real time, but I've seen many in our audience clapping for you virtually. So bravo. Thank you, Cantor Ben. That was an incredible performance.
I'll give you a
I tip my
fancy
virtual
bow.
hat.
Fancy bow.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
That was just so wonderful and moving, and I had goosebumps. And someone in the chat, V Lawless, who I know is tuning in from Canada, says,
hello,
congrats
Canada.
to Benjamin for this courageous performance. Virtual formats are hard for any theater, but musical theater is even harder. Bravo. I look forward to hearing about this touching show being produced to pack the houses.
Thank you.
Or packed houses, rather.
Yeah, I can do virtual shows in Canada. Do you guys have internet in Canada? Just kidding. Yeah, thank you so much for the compliment. You are right that putting on a show virtually is not easy. When the COVID pandemic happened, I couldn't do live theater inside packed rooms anymore. So after fretting for a little bit, I said, what can I do? And I heard that people were doing this kind of thing, performing via the computer. I didn't like the idea, but then I realized I wanted to keep sharing this work. So here I am with all of you. Hello. And I'm so glad that we're able to, that's funny. And in the States, our internet most likely comes from Canada. Very good. Yes, I'm glad to be able to share with you despite the distance.
So I just want to dive in with a starter question, and just out of curiosity, I'm sure you must get this question a lot, but would you mind sharing how you came to write such a gorgeous musical? And I just want to highlight how delicately you wove music and punctuation with pauses and humor to really give a beautiful insight into life, especially at the end in hospice and the human condition. So please, your thoughts.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for the lovely compliment. How did the play begin, or how did I come up with the concept? Right. So approximately 7 or 8 years ago, I was a beginner chaplain in my first year of training, and my home base was a residential hospice. So when you're training as a chaplain, you have to do hundreds of hours of visiting to sort of learn on the job. And so my visits were with dying people and their loved ones in a residential hospice facility. Anyone in New Jersey listening It's in central New Jersey called Center for Hope Hospice in Elizabeth, and also Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Anyway, I did these visits, and one of the things you do as a chaplain is you visit bedside and you speak with the patients. This technique called life review, which you heard me singing about and even modeling to you through the song, that is something that chaplains and sometimes social workers and therapists will do with dying people at the end of their life, or just people who need to be heard, right? So this is my favorite part of being a new chaplain, sitting with people and hearing their stories. I love to talk. I love to meet people. Thanks, Toby, for the compliment. Yeah, so one night I was driving home and I called my wife on the cell. I said, honey, I think these stories that I'm hearing, I think they want to be songs. And she said, get writing. So that night I opened up one of those black and white composition books and I started scribbling the lyrics that would later become the song you heard this afternoon, Will It Still Snow? So, you know, that's how the inspiration came. I'm better at lyrics than music. I only wrote music for one of the songs you heard this afternoon, Send Me a Sign, but the rest are all co-writes. So I had a couple of musician friends who helped. I think I mentioned that at the beginning. And at first we didn't know what it was going to be. Was it going to be an album? Was it going to be a show? Da, da, da. And I always thought it was a show. My friend thought it was an album. But once we got more than 8 songs, I was like, we've got enough here. So then I started to think about the story. Because it's very loosely based on my own life, I had familiarity with the particular job challenges of a new chaplain. And so I chose to use him as the lens through which we see the patients, because so much of what happens in the play is normally invisible to regular people. Think about it. In a hospice, it's all private. There's HIPAA rules, and you get to visit the person you know, but you don't usually visit the other person. So through the magic of theater, we get to see people who aren't our loved ones, and we get to hear their songs. And of course, you didn't get to see this because I was just standing here, but for the stage version, we have dance numbers. For the gospel number, we have harmony, and we're swaying, and there's a sexy R&B number, which you didn't hear this afternoon, but it's pretty raunchy, and it's about how patients all lust after their caregivers. Fun fact, we have sex drives until we die. And that's why I wrote that song. But, you know, the big picture for me was all about taking these stories and amplifying them. As the play went through its development, I kept thinking about different angles about death and dying and grief and end-of-life care, and wrote lots and lots and lots of songs. Eventually, I had to limit it, so 14. Right now, it's probably going to end at 16, maybe. Who knows? So that was, also along the way, a few shares. Once at a workshop, just some songs. Another year, a few songs. Another year, a full workshop of 10 songs last year. 14 songs this fall. 14 songs with scenery and props. So, like, we are developing something as plays do. Just a little bit of a hiccup with this COVID thing. Little hiccup.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I want to welcome anyone's questions into the chat as we go along here. Ben, your character Stella, I believe I heard that correctly. The third character that we hear about.
Italian woman singing about snow.
Yes. It was really poignant and tender when I believe it was you as the narrator saying what will happen to the whole world and her family after she dies, and that kind of poignant awareness of leaving this earth and not knowing, you know, if anything is to come or what may be awaiting after that final moment, and really having a yearning and awareness to still care for the loved ones that remain and what's going to happen to them. So I just wanted to highlight that as one of the moments that stood out to me as very poignant. And I loved how you wrapped things up at the end by saying, you know, flowers are a visual reminder that life goes on, and they come after the winter to give us new hope.
Absolutely. You know, when I wrote that song, Stella, I should mention that the song title is borrowed from a poem written by my mother-in-law, happens to be a wonderful author named Rosalind Brown. So she wrote a poem called Will It Still Snow When I'm Gone? And I read it in a book of poetry of hers. And I said, that's a song. Can I borrow your song? Can I borrow that title? And she said, sure. So wanted to give her credit. She'll get like 2 cents of royalties every time I sing it, right? But the idea of just what happens after our life ends, I think is one of the most vexing questions that dying people wrestle with. From my own personal experience, ministering to the seriously ill and dying and their loved ones, because of the simple fact, thanks, Margaret, the simple fact that no one knows what happens after their life ends. Yes, she was. Toby, you know Rosellen? It's a small world after all. I was wondering when this was going to happen. Someone knows my mother-in-law. Okay, great. Sorry. Yeah, this whole... Oh, I was talking about the chaplaincy, right. So when I visit with patients in hospice care, there are some different kind of clouds of different ways that people often manifest their grief. Look, everyone's grief journey and illness journey is at once unique and particular, but also very similar to other ones. We just experience it on our own as totally unique. But I'll tell you, a lot of people would say things to me like, Cantor, what happens after I die? And I would say, what do you think? Because a chaplain's job is not to give answers. A chaplain's job is to create holy space, maybe to pray a little bit, reflect their feelings. So my theology, which is not totally a state secret, it's just not in play during the interactions, or at least it shouldn't be when you're a good chaplain. That said, though, it helps to have some awareness about the kind of problems or challenges people face. So wondering, is the world going to go on after I die? It may feel like a little bit narcissistic, but it's actually a very common wondering, right? Because we experience the whole universe through these 2 eyes and the brain between our ears. So when that all stops, is the show over? It's something we wonder about, right? We wonder, that song also expresses what we call anticipatory grief. So if you love someone who, let's say, has a cancer diagnosis and they're told they have a year to live, you might start grieving right away, even though they're not dead yet. So Stella, her character, in that bed, when she's thinking about, will the rest of my friends grow old? She is grieving the fact that she doesn't get to keep living and experiencing. She's only a middle-aged woman, maybe 50 something, maybe, but like not super elderly. And she knows that that's difficult. So that's one type of grief. Some other people are angry. Early in the play, the mother of the young man is very angry. She doesn't have a song, but she just like expresses it through words, especially when the chaplain kind of stumbles with the wrong thing to say. The African-American fellow who was a former church musician, he's ready. He jokes about his old age. He jokes about like, there's no sense asking for more life. I'm 102, He feels he's very much aligned with your mission, right? He's got his completed life. He feels satisfied with it. And in fact, almost feels spiritual in praising God for the body that carried him through it. And then the fourth person, the song you didn't hear, is a song that sounds a little Frank Sinatra. It's called My Last Week on Earth, parentheses, Make a New Friend. And it's very Frank Sinatra kind of sound because he's a guy in his 80s. So that's the music he might have liked. And
So I'll just jump in here and read a
Yeah,
question that
please do.
Carol put in the chat. And I love that you mentioned that Leroy had completed his life, because that was literally my next question. What do you think? So question from Carol, does I believe Stella's need for autonomy allow her to script her end of life ritual or rituals?
It's a good question. In the play, I don't really do too much in terms of end of life rituals. We do have in the full length play a community memorial service where there is a a eulogy song where each verse is sung by one of the plus ones we meet along the way. So the spouse of the man who dies sings for him, the mother of the son who dies sings for him, and so forth. And then that same memorial service closes with our new version of Psalm 23 called God Be My Shepherd. In terms of the end of life rituals, you are absolutely correct what you imply in the question, that different people have different rituals. And I've seen some up close. A lot of people, I think the folks on this call, on this group, are probably more interested and aware about end of life issues than the typical American. Maybe that's part of your mission statement, is to spread the word and educate more people. I'll tell you, a lot of people, if there's an end of life ritual, it's often because they're practicing Catholics or practicing Jews or some religious tradition, and they decide in advance, like, if and when I'm really sick, make sure I get the last rites if they're Catholic, or help me say the Vidui and the Shema if they're Jewish. But not every Catholic asks for that. Not every Jew asks for that. Some people, they just need quiet, right? Some people, they just need their loved ones to be with them, and then when the loved ones leave the room, they feel like they have permission and they can let go, which happens a lot. So we have some scenes in the play where the person dies in front of us, and we have some where we don't know, and then we hear a few days later they've gone, which is kind of how it happens in hospice. I remember working, I saw someone one week, and then the next week I got an email like they had died, and that's part of the work. It's difficult.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for going into such depth about that.
Sure.
You mentioned caregiver burden, and that is something that's come up frequently at past events at the Completed Life Initiative. We've hosted end of life doulas, as well as Jessica Zitter's. We've screened her documentary film Caregiver, a Love Story, where it follows a woman who's died of, or dying and has died of metastatic cancer, and her husband Rick becomes her caregiver, and he, it's a story of love and devotion, and yet even he becomes drained and burnt out at times. And so I was wondering if you could speak to, through your experiences with hospice and creating this musical, did you incorporate any elements of, the caregiver burden,
Sure.
the challenges that arise with that?
Absolutely. It's a great question, and certainly extra relevant during COVID times, as I mentioned in my closing remarks, because we all know that that's added a tremendous burden for caregivers of every kind. In the play, our two heroes are the caregivers, right? The Rabbi David, our main character, is a chaplain, which is a kind of a religious caregiver of sorts. And his friend, the voice of wisdom, is the nurse, Nurse Marie, who I believe are the real heroes of hospice, right? They give the medicine, they're their bedside more than anyone else, along with the CNAs and the GNAs, as in the people who wash and bathe and change the linens and stuff. Not easy work. In fact, it's kind of backbreaking work. And when it's done right, it's done with tremendous love and care. Part of the reason why I wanted his friend and the voice of wisdom to be the nurse was a way to honor the wonderful nurses who do hospice care. I guess lots of different subspecialties of nursing have their pros and cons, and I don't want to get into a debate about which kind of nursing is hardest, but let's say that hospice nursing is uniquely difficult in that you are only caring for the person's symptoms. You're not trying to save them, because that's not how hospice works. And I've heard from a lot of hospice nurses in particular who I've spoken with over the years that they've chosen to go into this. There's a massive nursing shortage. There always has been. So if you're a decent nurse, you can kind of pick and choose your specialty in many cases. Those who come into hospice often have a reason for it. Either they believe in the mission, or they've had a loved one go through hospice care, or maybe, as in the case of Marie, our fictional character, she used to work at a hospital in Port-au-Prince, and it was triage in a way that we can't even imagine. And I should pause for a moment and send love and prayers to the people of Haiti right now who are suffering in the wake of the terrible natural disasters. But can you imagine what it's like to be a rescue worker or a hospital worker in a country like Haiti after a disaster? I mean, that's super extreme. But even in a well-stocked hospital, we've heard the stories um, this year. I'll just well, I will mention that the first time I really cried, really waterworks for the COVID pandemic, it was when I read a beautiful column about the chaplains of New York City. This was like when New York was at its first spike and the hospitals were really overrun. And the chaplains were discovering they couldn't do their normal work. They had, they couldn't hold hands, they couldn't hug and kiss. Um, anyway, I heard these stories and I recognized it because I had been a chaplain until the COVID shut down, and then all the elder care facilities I used to visit had no visitors. Chaplains weren't allowed in. Now they are, like with masks and gowns, but for many months they weren't. And I said, all right, I can't just call people on the phone. And so I gave them my notice. They had other chaplains. It was okay. But for me, part of it was I couldn't keep doing the work if I couldn't have that special face-to-face experience and that closeness, which made my chaplaincy a little bit less difficult. With the distance through the computer or through an iPad or through the glass walls of an ICU, it's very, very hard to find the so-called connection or holy presence that you try to bring to the room. Now, we know doctors and nurses have been doing the work that they've needed to for 18 months, and it seems like they're going to be doing it for months more to come. So yes, burnout is real and it's intense. I would say that, returning now to the fictional character, Rabbi David, at the end of the play, what he discovers, what he really needs to move through his own personal grief journey, he needs to let it go. Just like another wonderful musical, Frozen, you got to let it go. And he serenades Leroy on the guitar, and in the play, that's when he breaks and he cries openly because he knows his friend is dying, or maybe has died right in front of him. It's not totally clear. And I just mentioned that dramatic point because I think it's super important for all caregivers, broadly defined, doctors, nurses, GNAs, CNAs, and for that matter, therapists and social workers and teachers and anyone who deals with people and their emotions. We need to be attuned to our own emotional health and our emotional compass. Sarah saw me right before the play, and I was having a little bit of technical difficulty, and she saw I was stressed. And she said, and take a deep breath. And that was very helpful. Thank you, Sarah. But I would remind all of you who are listening, if you happen to be in a caregiving profession, pay attention to that old adage. Dean, 100% correct. That you take the oxygen for yourself first so that you can help the others. And for as far as Dean's comment, 15 million unpaid caregivers, yes, we have a massive social policy problem in this country in terms of elder care and in-home care, and that's not my area of expertise, but I will acknowledge that those people, like the husband you mentioned before, Sarah, who are taking it upon themselves to care for loved ones, especially loved ones at home, very difficult burden to bear. It's usually born with love. You don't agree to take care of your loved one at home for free with all that stress just for nothing. It's because you care for them and you think it's the best possible thing. But certainly a very difficult responsibility to take on.
Absolutely. And often it's a surprise, and many families have to pivot in order to figure out how they can best step in and support. And also there's a distinction between at home hospice, where a nurse visits maybe once or twice a week to provide nursing support, versus in residential hospice, where the patient can go and be, supported fully around the clock. Um,
Absolutely.
So Ben, I'm just curious, through Rabbi David, the character of a chaplain and a rabbi, he says, let me pull up the note. You can tell me your secrets if I earn your trust.
Mm,
And that stood out to me because earning trust is what I can imagine is a huge part of working as a chaplain.
yes.
And I was wondering if you could share more about your experience in that role,
Sure.
and perhaps the challenges that might arise in earning someone's trust. And, for example, someone who might be a non-believer. What are your thoughts?
Well, for any of you who are listening who are in the related fields of therapy, social work, and so forth, you know already that when you're a care and even teaching for that matter, which is a kind of caregiving, that's my main gig right now. Any relationship begins with, or a good relationship rather, a good relationship in my mind begins with pleasant, sincere greetings, and then a willingness to be close and a willingness to listen. So, of course, in the play, I chose characters that were interesting and I picked moments that were going to be emotional because, you don't put boring stuff in a play if you can avoid it. But why am I mentioning that? It's because um, the trust, right? I don't get secrets at every visit. A lot of visits, it was like, when you were a younger man, what did you do? And like, I have a memory of a guy who was a sheet metal worker, and he was very proud that he paid for the mortgage and that he sent his two daughters to the state college. And that was way more than he had done in his life, and he was very proud of that. There were no secrets there. Um, and there were really no, amazing insights for that matter. But the fact that I was able to sit with him and honor his dignity, and then at the end, when he assented to a prayer, I was able to, thank God for his healthy body, that he was able to, work and support his family and bless his family, right? And that made it a sort of holy, special visit for him. There were other patients where I saw them multiple times, including the real life person upon whom Leroy is based. And he told me some heavy stuff. I'm not at liberty to share, but I can sort of allude to it. His wife died in a somewhat traumatic way, and I didn't hear about that until like the fifth visit. Um, he didn't tell me about his pain about not being able to play music until the second or third visit. First visit, it was all just shooting the shit, Hey, but the thing is, like, when you think about your own friendships in life, you don't start with secrets. You start surface. The unique challenge about a chaplain, though, and you heard it in the same song you quoted, Sarah. Can I? What is it? It's basically like, will I have enough time? Too soon I have to go. Too soon you have to go. Meaning, every chaplain visit is going to be about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes if they're like really like healthy and energetic. But you don't want to spend an hour because that'll like wipe them out, right? So you talk for a while and you have this moment, and hopefully it's peaceful and kind and therapeutic, and then you need to move on. And you don't know if you're going to see them again, which is a real challenge for doing ongoing work. But here's the thing. I learned from several different chaplaincy advisors. They said, don't be afraid to go deeper. There's this funny phrase, go into the basement with them. So it's a visual metaphor, you're kind of walking down. And why is that? Because anyone without training can be like, hey, you look great. It's good to see you today, Leroy. Terrific, right? And that's very superficial, and it's probably coated in a big layer of nonsense. And the people who are dying, they know they're dying. They don't need you to lie to them. They don't need you to tell them that they look great or feel great. But I can tell you, most people who are not trained as chaplains or social workers, they don't really. Yeah, I hear that, Carol. Yes, more superficial if you have shorter visits, for sure. But even with a 15-minute visit, if someone opens a door, a crack, the job of a chaplain is to walk through it if given the opportunity. And it might be just a little word like, oh, yeah, I miss my daughter, haven't seen her in 10 years. And then you go on. Well, oh, that's a thing. What's going on with your daughter? Now, if you just say, oh, that's a bummer, and move on because that's uncomfortable, which is what the normal human impulse, you don't get to go to where the hurt is. The job of the chaplain is to be with the person in their hurt, in their time of need, and accompany them. So returning to the secrets, you can hear secrets sometimes if there are multiple visits or if you do your job well. But a lot of times it's simply about being there.
Beautifully said. Thank you.
Sure.
So I want to turn to this term that is in the title of your musical, life review.
Yes.
And I think that ties in so well with our mission here at the Completed Life Initiative to empower individuals to complete their lives in the best way that suits them and the lives that they've lived, to honor their dignity at the end of life. And I'm just curious, through the process of doing a life review with patients in residential hospice, has that enabled or empowered them to really get a sense of, hey, my life is completed, or to kind of come to grips in a sober yet meaningful way with like the grief of, I'm at this final moment of my life and yet my life is complete. What are your thoughts?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure who originated the life review technique, but it is understood to be incredibly therapeutic when done well for a few reasons. One, people in general like to share stories and hear their story, or have their stories heard. Think about it. When you're with your friends and family, what's the main thing you do? You eat and drink and share stories, right? So unfortunately, not everyone who is seriously ill has a loved one visiting them or visiting them regularly. So an additional aspect of doing the life review is that sort of loving attention that might be missing, right? Some people in hospice care, they have their spouse visiting every day. And one of my duos, Murray and Minnie, the old Jewish couple, they've been married forever. They're very cute. She jokes with Murray like, oh, Murray, you know everyone, because Murray's social and he makes friends, right? But there's some people who kind of stick to themselves. And there's some people who are non-communicative. If you're late stage Parkinson's, you're not talking with anyone. You're just in the bed. And that fact means that when life review is done, whether it's with the person in the bed, or sometimes in the case of that Parkinson's patient, you might do a life review with the spouse sitting next to the patient who's non-communicative, and that gentleman or lady can hear the story, maybe nod or gesture. Point being that when we shine a light on someone's story, we honor their life. And I like the word you use, dignity. That's, I think, in my second song. I think it gives people a sense of dignity at a time that unfortunately doesn't always feel so dignified. Look, I think a good hospice, especially a good residential hospice facility, does fabulous work in making a dying person feel comfortable and hopefully dignified. But let's face it, it's not pretty. It's not pretty to be very old. It's not pretty to be so ill that you're dying and have your body shut down. There's yucky smells. People don't look their best at the end of life. That's all, for some people, very painful. Not everyone, but for some people, going through that is very, very painful. Even more so if they're made to feel alone because people aren't visiting, or maybe this one's visiting, but this one doesn't. Oh my God, back when I was working as a cantor, if I had $1 for every funeral I worked at where I had an adult child come to me and say, oh yeah, I haven't spoken with dad in 25 years. And then he looks at the casket and I'm like, like, I don't even know what to say to that. It's so sad. It's not uncommon though. So when there's that patient in the hospital or the hospice, they might have their wife sitting right next to them or their spouse sitting right next to them, but maybe at that moment they're struggling with the missing child, or conversely maybe the child's there but the divorce, like approaching death, if you have your wits about you, it is a moment of heightened drama, right? And it can be upsetting and it can be sad. So with that said, I think when Life Review is done well, it is, why did they even go? Not sure what that means. Anyway, it's, yeah, when you do a life review as a clinician or even as a person, anyone here could do a life review with someone in your life who you love. They don't even have to be old. They don't even have to be dying. I recommend you record it. You will treasure it someday, but someday you won't be able to do that interview anymore.
You mentioned a really powerful idea of doing a video advance directive, and or that was what I took your comment to mean, in the implication of doing the importance of doing a video advance directive, and also perhaps a video life review. That's something that isn't widely discussed. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think there's room to develop that as an element of someone's experience, as well as to bring in their family and their community. Vivek Murthy, the former Surgeon General, wrote a book on loneliness as being a widespread epidemic, and I can only imagine the loneliness some people feel at the very end, if especially if they don't have loved ones around them. And I also want to touch upon at the end, when Rabbi David sings a lullaby to Leroy, he mentions, "I'll tuck you in for a dream complete, to rest asleep," and that beautifully touched upon Shakespeare's soliloquy, where Hamlet talks about, and to be or not to be, in that sleep of death, in that dream of death, must give us pause. And so I just wanted to highlight that as a beautiful echo of an excerpt from that famous speech, where we've been quoting it for our festival these past 3 weeks. So
nice.
With that, Cantor Ben, I just want to invite you to leave us with any last comments, remarks, thoughts. This has been a tremendous experience being with you here today virtually, and with everyone in the audience. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a real joy.
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I did mention earlier, if you enjoyed the program, I do encourage you to check out the website, lifereviewmusical.com. If you're on Instagram, you can follow me at Life Review Musical for updates. And I'll put in my chat actually, you can reach me. You can submit on the website a form, and you can put in comments if you have questions or whatever. You should know that the virtual tour 2021 continues in earnest, and we are booking engagements. We, meaning this guy, I am booking engagements to present this cabaret show. You're welcome, Margaret. For any audience that will have me. That includes synagogues, churches, mosques, organizations, elder care facilities, you name it. As long as you have an internet connection, I'd be glad to share it with you, because we want this project to keep going. And hopefully, when things are safer again, we'll be back on stage, and maybe I'll see some of you in the audience, and you'll say, "Oh my God, I saw you on the computer." And I'll say, "Oh my God, I couldn't see you because your camera was off." But it will be nice to see you in person when it's time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Cantor Ben, Kintish, everybody. Just want to offer another round of applause for a beautiful performance. And thank you so much for being here. And for everyone out there watching, today's performance has been recorded, so please keep an eye towards your email for the recording of all 3 festival performances coming out soon. Please check out Cantor Ben's musical, Life Review, the Hospice Musical, at lifereviewmusical.com. He's putting the social media handles in the chat, and we'll publish those with the recording as well. And
I had
as
one
always,
last plug.
please
I
also,
had one last plug.
yes,
Which is we're doing a live show on September 12th. If you happen to be in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, join us in Oakland Mills Interfaith Center. We're performing outside, but for the rest of you who are far away, we are going to tape it and then do a delayed stream. And there will be more information about that available Instagram and the website. So join us September 12th or a few days later to see a whole ensemble cast performing. And you get a lot more harmony than what I can pull off by myself.
wonderful. Thank you. We'll keep an eye out for that. Very exciting. So, so please, everyone, check out Cantor Ben's website, lifereviewmusical.com. And as always, please continue to spread the word to your friends, your contacts, your networks about the Completed Life Initiative, and consider popping by our website at www.completedlife.com. I'm delighted that, and also a little bit sad that our festival for the summer arts performances has come to a conclusion. But today is the 3rd and final performance, and it's been a delight to host you for the past 3 weeks. So thank you again so much for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you again next time at one of our upcoming Completed Life events. Please keep an eye towards the events tab on our website, or as well as our email blasts for upcoming events soon to come. So thank you again so much. It's been a delight. Please take care, be well, and we'll see you next time.